Uh, this is our monthly meeting. We are doing it via Zoom, and I thank everyone here for getting here. We're opening up. We have the minutes from the April 10th meeting of 2024. Are there any edits, additions, corrections, anything that we need to add or omit or change?
Not from me.
Hearing none, can I have a motion to accept the April 10th, 2024 minutes?
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion by
Second.
Norris. And is that you, Jen? Was
Yes.
that Jen? Yeah, Jen, thank
Yep.
you. Questions or anything to discuss, members of the commission? Hearing none. Ayes?
Aye.
Nays? Abstentions? We're good. I am going a little out of order here so we can move through because I want to give ample time for a number of topics I think will be needing some time and so forth. But I just want to go, let's get right into the courses. Is there anything that, any edits that need to be made? Or additions, subtractions? And this is from AAL 1222 that will go, and they go to APR 344, all have AQB and IDEC approval unless noted. If I don't hear any edits or additions, can I get a motion to accept as presented?
Motion to accept as presented.
Thank you, Maria. Maria is a motion. Can I get a second?
I second.
John is a second. Discussion.
I went through all the ag. Somebody else talk.
Hearing none, can I get an ayes,
Aye.
nays, abstentions? Okay, John, I think you were just at, the next one is AA 1220 to APR 340, no AQB and IDEC approval. Was that the ones you were going to discuss, John?
Yeah, I went through all those and I didn't see any issues with any of them at all.
You know, I'm a fan of their material, you know, so.
I did take offense to the one chicken icon. It looked a little aggressive, but that's okay. And one of the poultry thing. Well, I did.
And not a Purdue chicken then, I guess, okay?
Oh, no.
With no edits or anything here, can I get a motion to accept AAL 1220 to APR 340 that had no AQB or IDEC?
I think you need to add that AAL 1231 is going from 28 to 18 hours, and then AAL 1224 is going from 27 to 18 hours.
John, it's so noted on there on the
Okay.
agenda. Okay. Again, can I get a motion?
Oh, I make a motion to accept
Okay.
that.
That's John with a motion,
second.
a second. Okay, Jen with a second. Ayes,
Aye.
Aye.
ayes, nays, abstentions. Very, very good. Okay. We have, again, like I said, I'm just crossing out things here. Let me get into the DCP investigations. Anything we need to know? Cases closed, cases opened? Deb, you may be on mute.
Sorry about that. I
No
have
problem.
3 cases closed and 14 opened. And I have to say, I'm starting to get, I wanted to mention that I'm starting to get an uptick from Fannie Mae, but a lot of the Fannie Mae, I don't know if a person actually reviews those because many of them that I receive are like they'll say, oh, the comps don't make sense, or there's no comment why they went outside of, the usual perimeter, and it's absolutely in there. So I'm not sure that an actual person may have reviewed them, but I haven't had a reason on the ones that I've reviewed so far to pull anybody out. So just wanted to put that out there.
Okay. Okay. Any questions on that from members of the commission? Okay, disciplinary report to National Registry. Deb, none,
Uh,
it says none. Anything to add or subtract on that?
None as yet, and we do have a compliance meeting coming up on the 17th.
Okay. Is that done in person or do you do that via Zoom?
We did one no, we did it via Zoom. Yeah, I was just
Okay.
thinking. Yeah, no, it's
Okay.
Zoom. Well,
Okay.
Teams.
Whatever the
Mm-hmm.
medium we're using. Okay.
Mhm.
A continuing education report and license renewals. Is there anything to add or?
I'm sorry, I don't have that. I forgot about it. This has been like, it's just
A
been a
whirlwind.
scramble because of, we just came back and I was trying to get
Yep.
everything in order, but I can send that to you privately and then add it to the agenda for next month, just to get it
That's
on the record.
okay. License renewals. Is that the same thing? We'll get those
Yes.
numbers?
Yes.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any questions by members of the commission? No? Okay. All right. Legal. Hello, Vicky. I think
Hi,
you're
good
out there.
morning. How is everyone?
Lovely. Thank you.
That's a good thing. I don't have anything to report other than, the conference was very good, very informative in terms of work. We do have a compliance meeting coming up. It should be interesting if nothing else. And other than that, that's all I have for today. This is the conclusion of our, legislative session that adjourns today. I'm not sure, what's in the hopper or not in terms of, any changes for our industry, but we'll see. The I guess update for the appraisal regs is not to be given today because I don't have one, but I will provide one at our next meeting. But that's it. I don't have anything else.
Okay.
Excuse me,
Very good.
Jerry, we have somebody waiting in line. I can't see where to let him join. It's Kyle Hart.
Okay. Yeah, but that's under new business. We're not
No, I
there
know,
yet.
but he can't get into the meeting. I can't see where to add him. If
Oh.
somebody there knows how to do that, I don't
Oh,
see where
okay.
to do that.
I'm the wrong person to ask.
Okay,
Does
all right.
anybody have any suggestions? Feel free to speak up.
Okay, I'll work on it offsite. Okay.
Fair enough.
I mean, if
Okay.
Rochelle would let someone in, but I don't see anyone waiting.
Nobody. It's not set up. Everyone should just be able to come in to the meeting. So
Okay. All right. We will then, when we come to Mr. Hart, if he's not here, and when he comes back in, we'll get him on. Okay. We'll take it that way. I'm going to go, and I'm going to leave old business in because there are some very good discussion points here. And I think they're going to take a fair amount of time, or potentially anyway. And therefore I wanted to go through, under our new business things here. And that's number one is Matthew Dustolman, RCG 1731, requests 7-hour equivalent CE for Massachusetts Appraisal Institute course, State of the Market 2024. Is there anything, Debbie, you need to let us know or on members of the commission or questions by members of the commission?
I have no issue with this.
Okay.
I'm okay.
I make
All
a
right.
motion that we accept 7 hours for Matthew Dulce to Maine for his, for that class. I hope I didn't butcher his name.
Yeah, we're both in the same boat, A
I'll
second,
second it.
Norris is second. Discussions or questions? Hearing none. Ayes,
Aye.
Aye.
nays, abstentions. So that will pass for 7 hours. Mr. Hart, as we were just saying, Debbie, we're still working, trying to get him in or
Yes,
getting him on.
I sent him the link again, so I don't know.
Okay. We will pass and come back to Mr. Hart, who was number 2 on the list when he's available. Number 3 is Robert Nardella Jr., RSP, request extension for his provisional license. Folks, as has happened in the past, Mr. Nardella and I work for the same company, so I am going to respectfully abstain. And by doing so, I'm going to mute my mic and I'm going to go off the, go off the screen. Is there someone who wants to take over, members of the commission, to kind of run this on the agenda?
I guess I'll do it unless Norris or somebody else wants to do it. All right, so.
All right, Norris, it's yours. I'm going off the air.
Give it to
Okay,
Norris.
John?
All right, give it to Norris. Where'd Norris go?
Hold on one sec, guys. I'll be right with you. I don't want to get cut off.
We losing everybody?
It's raining fairly hard, so.
Is this gentleman here?
Sorry about that.
Norris, you want to chair and then I can
Yeah, I'll
talk
share
to?
it.
Go ahead.
Is Mr. Nardelli, are you here? Mr. Nardelli? Is he here? Is he on? Debbie, is he on?
I don't see him. I don't see him
Folks,
on.
Jerry here. I'm going to walk down the hall, see if he's here, okay?
Oh, good Lord.
Okay, so can you
Hey,
clarify
Debbie,
what the letter?
Hey, Debbie, can you just, he's been coming back and forth. Just give us a brief again on, I mean, I know he's past the date.
Okay, hold on a second, please.
Yeah.
Okay, he said the link doesn't seem to be working, so I'm gonna send him a new link.
Is this for Hart or Nardelli?
It's for Nardella. I sent Hart the new link as well. Let me just send that. Okay. All right,
Folks,
so
Jerry here. I've just walked down. He says he can't log on. So you know what I'm going to do is he's walking into my office. I'll put him here on the camera. You folks do whatever, and I'll walk to the other end of the office. Okay?
That's perfect.
Come on in. Okay.
Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Nardelli.
Sorry about that. A little technical issues there.
It's okay. State your full name and your address.
Sure. It's Robert Nardella with Cushman and Wakefield.
Last
Our
name, capitalize your last name.
Sure. It's Nardella. And our
The
address
address
is
again.
107 Elm Street in Stamford, Connecticut.
Thank you, Mr. Nardelli. Explain your situation again to us.
Sure. So I was in front of you guys before the end of the year last year. In the December meeting, looked for an extension through the end of the cycle, which just expired. Since then, I've enrolled in report writing and case studies, and I'm also taking my first elective, which is the appraisal review class. After that, I'll have one more elective left before I finish all my classwork, and which I believe I can complete before the end of October, which is why I'm requesting an extension for another 6 months.
Thank you. Any other commission members would like to ask any questions? John?
You're muted, John, I think.
The old mute got me. Um, Robert, your experience log is not completed either yet, right?
Well, I've been writing my log throughout this whole process as well. So,
But you haven't submitted your experience education, correct? Your examples yet or anything like that. So you still have to do
no.
that too. Okay.
Yes, correct.
All right.
Yep.
So my question to you, I need before we, I'm reading here that your initial license was issued in March of 2017.
Yep.
You didn't renew it on time in April 2020. You were reinstated in May of 2020, and we granted him the second of two extensions on November 8th of 2023. So, yeah, I mean, no, I know we had COVID, but COVID's been over. What's going on? I mean, I have provisionals working for me and they're getting their stuff done. Why aren't you getting your stuff done? What's going on?
Well, I had a serious medical condition in May of 2018, which also hindered my access to classes throughout the COVID pandemic. I mean, I take this very seriously. Last year, I completed 3 qualifying classes, 3 CE classes. You know, I'm pushing forward through this. I'm trying to complete this as soon as possible. Um, you know, between a full schedule as an appraiser and whatever else. I take this very seriously, and I would like to obviously have this completed and sit in front of you all, you know, by the
So is
end of
this
this 6
medical
months.
situation, which you don't have to discuss, this medical situation, has it been impeding your ability to work since then?
It did for, you know, I will say my medical situation put me at risk during the COVID pandemic. So, you know, doing in-person classes, it just wasn't an option for me. And, you know, I learned best in person. You know, that's not really an excuse, but, you know, I like going to the classes rather than taking them online.
Okay, but I guess my question now boils down to is, what's the reason why between the last time we granted you an extension and this time that you didn't get the classes done? Was it scheduling? Was it health? Was it?
No, it wasn't health. It was scheduling and, you know, obviously working full time as well. Like I said, that's not an excuse. But I do take this very seriously, and you know, this is the top priority for me, professionally and personally.
So what kind of
And
property types are you appraising right now?
I'm a generalist. I do everything except multifamily and senior housing, special use assets, office, industrial, land,
And what market
retail.
are you covering?
I cover the whole state of Connecticut, Westchester, and the Hudson Valley in New York.
Anybody else got any questions? So if we give you another 6-month extension, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Norris.
Vicky or Debbie, what's our options?
Well, I think that because he has expressed that there had been some health concerns, I think you have to me, I think you have to err on the side of caution. I just think that because of that, and the fact that he's stated that he's committed to getting it done within the new time frame, I think that we should allow him to. I mean, it has to be done on a case-by-case basis. And I think he's indicated what his concerns were without going into detail which he does not have to disclose relative to his health situation. But he has made progress from the last time to this time. Maybe not as much as we would have liked. When I say we, the commission may have liked, but he has made progress. So I think that in this instance, I think that it would be permissible to do so.
Okay, then, Mr. Nardelli, if this commission decides to give you the extra 6 months, are we going to be done?
Correct.
Yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Any other commission members have anything to say?
I guess the only thing I'd like to do is before we, I'm willing to give him, make a motion to give him a 6-month extension, but you've registered for the other 2 classes, for the last required class and then 1 elective. I'm going to request that we grant that you sign up for that last elective within a couple of weeks if you can, and send a notification to Debbie that you're registered for that class. Do you have enough hours already?
Yes. Yeah.
And that log's all done. And then I'm gonna make a suggestion that we grant them that once you take that elective, you then submit your log immediately. Don't wait till the last minute. So we need a couple of months to review those if something happens. So
Sure.
I guess I'm willing to make a motion that we grant him a 6-month extension pending that he registers for the last elective and notifies Debbie, I'm going to say within a month, and that he submit his work log within 3 months so that we can select samples, so we have time when we don't have to go down this path again.
I just wanted to add to keep in mind about the, August month that we don't have meetings.
Yeah, so that
So
makes
how is that going to impact what you're asking for?
Well, if it gets us the log by September, well, he can still submit his log anytime and then submit his log, and then we can look it over individually and just request samples without having to have a meeting, right?
Yeah, you can. I just wanted you to make sure that you're aware that and also that he is aware of the fact that we don't meet in August, and if that has any impact on your timeline for him.
Well, would that impact you at all, Robert?
No.
All right, that's my motion. Oh,
I'll
Deb?
second that.
I would like to say before a vote on that, doesn't the log have to be, don't you have to vote to approve the log before sample selection? So do I still add the log to, say, the September meeting, even though you would have reviewed it prior to, and then you could go through exception or not?
Yeah, because I think if you submit the log, even if he sends the log in August, if we look at it, one of us looks it over, if we see a red flag, we can
Okay.
point that out. But seeing the seat that he's sitting in right now, I'm sure there's not going to be no red flags. So we can take a vote.
Second.
I second it.
Thank you, Jen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Thank you, Mr.
All right.
Nardelli.
Thank you,
Have a
everyone. I
wonderful
appreciate
day.
your time. You as well. I'll go get
Yep.
Jerry. Thank you.
Debbie, can you make a note to follow up to make sure he sends that classes so this?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
but,
do. I have it.
Hey, Debbie, hey, John, couldn't we vote on the log anyway by text?
Yeah.
That's what I
Oh,
thought.
okay.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
can vote. Well, you could send it to us and we can vote by text.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
Welcome back, Mr. Chairman.
Kyle
Okay.
Hart is here. Kyle Hart is
Oh,
online.
okay. Very good. Thank you, folks. Again, I'm sorry I literally take a walk down the hall. So, all right, Mr. Hart, good morning. And for the record, can you please give your name, spelling of your last name, and the address of your employment for the record, please?
Yes, Kyle Hart, KYLEHART, and my employment is I'm self-employed and I'm 20 Buttermilk Lane, Branford, Connecticut.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Debbie, do you want to give you may have already done this since I'm just getting back on, a quick overview here of Mr. Hart's reason why he's on this agenda. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Mr. Hart has, his license has expired. His 6 years has expired He's been given 2 extensions, and the problem arises with the PSI test. He's completed, well, he's taken 4 PSI tests, and unfortunately, he has not passed them. So he needs an extension to retake the PSI test.
Okay. Mr. Hart, that encapsulates the situation you're in?
Yes, Jerry, I'm having a hard time passing the PSI standardized test. And if you'd like me to go into any detail as to why and or my experiences, I can and will.
You're more than welcome to.
Okay, so struggle with a little bit of test taker's anxiety paired with some ADHD. I find myself often almost running out of time on the test. I'm just having an all around issue with the test going in and taking it. So I'm looking to maybe moving forward seek accommodations. My test scores have improved each time. Each of the 4 attempts, my test scores have improved. Although the first test that I took, I was never actually given the results in person. Reason being, there was somebody working there that I honestly hadn't seen my other 3 attempts, and they said they'll go ahead and email me the results. They never did. I had to call in. Honestly, it's been a pretty rough go at it. And yeah, I don't know really what else to say. I'm having issues with the test.
Can I encapsulate before I open it up for other questions by members of the commission? You're looking for an extension of your license and also asking for another take of the exam? Is it 2 things we're asking for here? Do I understand that correctly?
Debbie, am I also asking for the extension on the license, or am I just asking for the eligibility to retake the PSI exam?
Well, from my communications with you, you never asked me to reinstate your license. I'm in your credential right now. Let me just see where you
Okay.
stand.
So what I'm asking for is just the steps taken in order to become eligible again to take the PSI exam and then hopefully become a certified residential appraiser in Connecticut.
Okay.
Jerry, he has a unique situation here because his provisional license expired on 11/30 of 22, which means that he would be ineligible to reinstate past that date because it would be more than 2 years as of 11/30/24. He did receive, his first issuance was August 18th of 2016. So he did receive extensions.
And if may I speak again, I have been trying to be as proactive as I can throughout this whole process. I've been trying to just do everything and um, to get eligible and to take the test and just put my best foot forward. And it would really mean everything if you guys let me give it another shot.
Okay. I'm going to open it up, Mr. Hart, to other members of the commission. They may have questions.
Okay.
Members of the commission, any questions for Mr. Hart?
Are you go ahead, Norris.
I'm sorry, Kyle. I'm sorry, Mr. Hart. Geez. Hey, Vic, Vicky, what are our legal options?
Well, I think that he has expressed the need to be able to make another request for the exam. He has indicated that he does have, the need to have special accommodations that has not been, I don't know if that was requested prior to him taking the most recent test. So this is a case-by-case basis.
Okay,
So I would,
case by case, I understand that. How many times can he take this test?
I don't
You
know
can
that
take as
there's,
many. You can take as many as you want.
No,
As
there,
long as you get
I'll
paid.
jump in, Norris, on that. You're allowed to take it up to 4 times. After 4, then
Yes.
you can apply, you apply or you request what Mr. Hart is doing now to the commission. In the past, I know we had one take as many as 7 times,
Yes.
okay, over the years. But that meant there were 3 separate requests for number 5, number
I
6,
remember. I
and number
remember.
7.
I
So,
remember. Now I remember.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
John, you had a question, I see, and then Jason, I'll get to you right after John was first.
Kyle, are you working now? You're not doing any appraisal work now, are you?
No,
No, not
No,
doing
no.
research for anybody or anything like that, which is okay. You can do research for somebody and help. You're not
no,
doing-
no, John. Mainly
Okay.
just scheduling part-time in office, and then another endeavor that I have going on, audio, visual, sound design, stuff like
That's
that.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so I guess I'm a little confused too, along with Norris, so if we make a motion and grant him, we don't have to give him a timeline, right? Do we give him a timeline to take the test the next time? Right?
In the past, John, we have given time. Like they said, if my memory serves me correctly, you could go 3-4 months, something like that we've given. But John, can you hold on for just a second, because Jason has his hand up. He may be giving something on the law to us. Okay. Jason, the floor is yours. Your hand is up.
Just a note, and I am discussing the background with Vicky and Deb, but I believe there was some legislation at the state level extending reinstatement to 3 years, but I'm not sure if or how it affects this particular licensing. So that's just something I was checking.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Jason, this session?
No, it was last year, I believe, but it may be a regulation, so it may be outside the session. But I'm just trying to get more details on that.
Okay. John, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Well, I guess what I'm confused about is, can we grant him, if he, do we have to give him an extension of his provisional first before we can grant him so he can go take the test, or how, that's the part the link between the two, I'm not sure.
I don't think so, John. In the past, we haven't. Okay, we haven't tied those together. I think they're 2 independent components. He has requested in this particular case, a 5th take of the bite of the apple. Okay, which then, if we say yes or no, then that opens up another question that Debbie started to allude to, and that is, there's a time frame, and his license expired on the 30th of November of 22. Am I correct with that, Debbie? And therefore, and you're on mute again. So
Yes, sorry.
no problem. And then Vicky, please, and Vicky and or Debbie, please, or Jason, anyone step in here. Isn't there a 2-year window that
Yes.
they're allowed to reinstate? So he is looking at really 11/30 of 24. For all intents and purposes, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. He's got 7 months to pass the exam and then to get kind of reinstated to move up. I believe I'm correct on that interpretation of the law. Please, Debbie, Vicky, Jason, correct me if I'm in error.
no, I agree with your assessment.
Okay.
He would
Okay,
never be able to reinstate past, as of December 1st. He would
Right.
never be able to reinstate his license as a provisional.
Right.
He does have an application pending for an RCR, that wouldn't affect. Hopefully that, if he had passed the test.
Okay,
And
so
we have to, go
so
ahead, I'm
my
sorry.
thought here is I think, I'm just going on a limb here, this is an option, but I'm thinking that if we grant him an extension so he can continue his provisional, then he can go back to work doing appraisal work, which I think would just enhance him to be able to take that test.
I don't disagree. I mean, that's why I say they're different, but they're kind of commingled, but they're not. They're 2 different components that it's not quite a hand in a glove, John, but we both legally, but practically it is. Do you know what I'm saying
So,
in practical terms?
So then I guess my question is back to Vicky. Can I and Debbie, can I make a motion that we give him a 6-month reinstate his provisional and then give him an extension or do we have to give him extension, number one, or but also grant him the ability to take the test for the fifth and final time because he's going to pass?
John, I think they should be two motions, so it's cleaner.
All right.
Okay, that's if you want to make one of them start the ball rolling, let me stop. Are there any questions by others of the commission? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut anybody out. I'm so sorry. Hearing none, then John, would you like to start the ball rolling with the first motion?
Well, I guess the first motion would be to reinstate his license till reinstate his license and then so am I reinstating his license or am I reinstating the license and giving him an extension, a 6-month extension?
You're just reinstating his license.
Okay, then I make a motion to reinstate his provisional license.
Yes.
Well, excuse me. He's already
Deb, hang on just a second, please. I have a motion. I got to get a second and then we can get into discussion. Okay.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Debbie, now it's all yours. Go ahead.
Sorry. I just wanted to clarify that he only received one extension, 6-month extension in April of 22. To extend it to November 30th of 22. So that's number one. But he's still within the reinstatement period right now. If you were to reinstate him, but I don't even know what I was going to say because I got a pop up here. It got me off track. I just wanted to let you know that he is eligible to be reinstated right now for whatever time frame you're going to vote on giving him. But he also needs to be given permission to retake the test because I believe that there is a limit of 4, right, Jason? Yeah. 4 times that you can take the test.
That's correct.
That'll be the second motion. Debbie,
that's
a second motion.
That's a
second motion.
So
see, I'm muting myself again.
My motion to reinstate, do we need to put a time frame on that?
John, Jerry here, I can hear Vicky, I'm going to beat her to the punch. She goes, make sure, I can hear her say, be consistent.
Be consistent.
Yeah, so whatever, I guess we've been given 6 months out, you know what I mean? So therefore, we're consistent across everybody across the Commonwealth, well, whatever, the Constitution state.
So what would it be, 11/24, not 12/24? He's up on what, 12/24 or something? 12/27?
No.
November.
Yeah, so
November.
June, July, August, September, October. Yeah, right? Because if we do it today, today's the 8th, you got June, July, August, September, October, November. So we're up to November 8th or thereabouts.
That's fine.
I can suggest perhaps, yes, you're giving him the extension, but you may also want to have a report back midway.
That's what
Like,
yes.
okay. All right. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other questions on the motion on the floor? John, am I correct that you're giving a 6-month extension? Am I correct on that or no?
To reinstate his provisional for 6 months.
Very good. Okay, we have a second. Are there any other questions by members of the commission? Any clarification or questions by members of the staff that would like to say anything? Mr. Hart, before we vote, would you like to say anything?
No, I'll.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing I would like to say is that Jason had reached out to my director, my supervisor, I should say. And the question was, does the change in reinstatement to 3 years include provisional appraiser? And Paul indicated that he believes it covers all licensees, registrations, etc. that's issued by the department.
Okay.
So that may have an impact at some point in time.
Okay, thank you. Um, Hearing nothing more, I'm going to call the motion for a vote. Ayes to
Aye.
extend it for 6 months.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, nays, abstentions. Mr. Hart, you can let your heart beat again. Okay, you're there. You have that one. Okay, just hang with us a moment, please.
So I
Excuse
now
me.
make a motion to allow him to take the test for the 5th time. But he has to, so Vicky had mentioned about, reporting it, so, like, what, is 4 months enough time? I mean,
September.
What about 3 months?
I would say midway, 3 months, but they also, the other thing I want to make sure, and I don't say conditional, but as part of this request, there has to be the request for the accommodations.
May I just, we typically, 3 months would bring us into August, and we typically don't meet in August. So
Right.
I would suggest we just say September.
okay, I make a motion that we extend him for the 5th time to take the test, by the end of September, and that he also, seek, to look into having PSI give, the, what's the word I want here?
Accommodations.
Accommodations. And I say that because we've had some concerns with, I'll say, the responsiveness of PSI. So if we're putting it on the record that we made that request, or the request was made, if we need to follow up for some reason, we can, and we'll have,
Oh, very good. Okay,
documentation for that.
that's my motion.
Okay.
I'll second
Can I get a second to that?
Second.
Norris, okay. Discussion. Any, Maria, Jen, John, Norris, any thoughts?
I just want to make sure
Questions?
if Kyle's okay with this.
Yes. 100%. I want to be proactive about getting licensed.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'm going to call it to a vote. Or to let Mr. Hart take the examination with accommodations from PSI. Ayes,
Aye.
Aye.
nays, abstentions. Mr. Hart, good luck. Okay, you passed. And again, if there is something, keep us current. And let's see what we can do. But good luck. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
You're more than welcome. And again, I'm going to say it a third time. Good luck. We're pulling for you. Nothing but the best. Okay.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Okay. Under new business, number 4, Austin Kingsbury, RCR applicant, experience log approval and sample selection. Is Mr. Kingsbury with us?
No.
Okay. So we have his log that was given to us. And so Debbie, did the hours all add up? It looked to me cursory they did, but I always defer to you on that.
Yes, I added them. I always add them before I send them to you.
Very good. So we are to pick a few selections. I'll just throw one out here because I'm going to take the next to last one he did on March 31st of 2024 on 428 Rowayton Avenue in Norwalk, Connecticut, and they said it was for 12 hours. Does anybody else have others do you want to put into the hopper?
How about Jennifer picks them there?
How about the 197 Carmen Hill Road in New Milford? That was 9 hours.
Maria and Jen, John and Norris, keep going. We got a few of them we got to come up with 3 more.
I'll take the
Um,
42 Sigourney Street, Bristol, Connecticut, since that's next door to me,
Okay,
next town
what
over.
about 79 Columbus Street in Manchester? Or is that the one? That's not the one that you picked, Jerry, right?
no. I just,
Okay.
the next to last one, I saw everything was like 8 hours, 6 hours, and there was this 12-hour one, next to the end. And that's why I said, okay, let me see what 12 hours are.
Is there one in Cromwell for Shauna?
I didn't see one, John. But that doesn't mean
One.
Cromwell or Southington?
I didn't see that either. Doesn't mean they're not there. How many do we have, Deb, so far?
We have 4.
Okay, we'll
That's
pick
enough.
a fifth. You will go with those 4?
Yeah, I'm fine with those.
Jen, Maria, you guys are okay with that?
Mhm.
Okay, North, okay. Very good. So
Could I repeat
thank
them
you.
back?
Please,
428 Rowayton Ave in Norwalk, 197 Carmen Hill Road in New Milford, 42 Sigourney Street in Bristol, 79 Columbus Street in Manchester.
Don't one of us have to make a motion to accept the log of Austin Kingsbury as submitted?
please.
That's my motion.
Okay. Can I get
Seconded.
a second? And Jen is second. Motion to accept the log as presented. Ayes,
Aye.
nays, abstentions. We're in good
Aye.
shape. Good. Okay. So Deb, correct us if I'm wrong. We've taken care of Mr. Kingsbury for number 4 under new business.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Before we get into old business, I know that, do you want to give us, you, Vicky, whomever went to Nashville, an update of the trip, and is there anything that we should know about? What goes on in Nashville stays in Nashville, but that we should know about when we are here on the commission? Are there new rules, new focuses, new thoughts? The floor is yours, folks, to give us a quick update of what's going on.
Vicky, you want to go first?
If you want me to. Well, I want, let me say this. I think it was very informative because for me, it was the first time that I was able to attend or had the opportunity to attend, based on the grant that was provided. It did give me some insight. When I say us, I mean Connecticut, some insight as to some of the other states and what they are experiencing in terms of staffing and changes and, just trying to comply with the requirements for the ASC. And, in preparation for that, I think one of the things that was consistent or uniformity in is that the states are saying, you're going to have to provide maybe a little bit more guidance on some of the things that you want us to do. And I think that was good in the attorney session. The attorneys had just talked about, different cases that they had and some of the, concerns that they had upcoming. So I thought it was good because we will have some, I think, additional guidance in the future on ways to address some of the concerns that were raised, by the people who attended. So that was good.
From my perspective, meeting with all the other regulators from the different states was very eye-opening and got a lot of new insight as to what they're working on and how they're handling things. What I had questioned was about the new value bias and fair housing courses, because before I got there was conflicting information about that. And I was able to get clarification, that it is a TAF requirement, that there are certain items that must be in the report, in the course itself. Like the schools can make their own courses, which I was unclear about before, but they have to follow the TAF criteria, which is posted. And that takes effect on January 1st of 2026. So that's going to be in our first CE cycle, or our next CE cycle. Students can take the course prior to January 1st and have it count. It is a 7-hour course with a 1-hour test. And the confusing thing here is because it's the same course for qualifying education as it is for continuing education for the first time. The qualifying education must have the 1-hour test included, so it's in effect an 8-hour test. That's mandatory. The second thing is for continuing education, if an RCR knows that they're going to remain an RCR for the rest of their career, they can take the course without taking the test, just the 7-hour course. But if there is any thinking, a thought process in their mind that they would like to upgrade to an RCG, then they should take the 7-hour test with the 1-hour, 7-hour course with the 1-hour test. Because if they took just the 7-hour course, they would then need to retake it, right, Vicky? Because they would have to have the 1-hour test
Right, the
along with
1-hour
it.
test, right, that's correct.
Mm-hmm. And then after 2026, for those that took the 7-hour for CE, they would have to take a 4-hour test. A 4-hour course. I don't know why I keep saying test this morning. It's like in my brain. Okay, so 4-hour course after 2026, it'll become mandatory like USPAP and our Connecticut law. Which brings me to our Connecticut law is going to have to be updated with that information. And we have some good items coming to add to that from the conference. I emailed Vicky, I emailed Brandy to send me all that information. And we also have to review the 2026 AQP criteria, because right now we follow 2018 criteria. That doesn't include this new mandatory course. The new mandatory course is mentioned in the 2026 AQB criteria. So that needs to be reviewed and accepted, I would think. And that's all I have on that. Unless you ask me something that triggers my brain, but
I open it up to members of the commission for any questions.
There's no, the
I don't have
change would,
any,
oh, go ahead.
sorry, I don't have any questions, but Shauna was just messaging saying that the link wasn't working for her either, if we're able to send her a new one.
okay, I will do that. I sent her another one, but that's okay.
The, wasn't this just a regulation change? When you said we have to update our law, we don't have to change any statute, we just have to change the regulation, correct?
Vicky?
As far as I know, it's just a regulation.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is nothing hard or difficult.
Earth shattering, right, correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions from the public on this matter? Hearing none. What would it take? You got a grant. Are we able to get another grant for you folks? Is it worth to go again to this conference? Or what's your take now that you both have been through it?
Well, from what we found out, they offer different topics at these conferences. The next one's going to be in Boston, so that might be easier to go to in the fall. I believe it's sometime in October. The next conference for the spring of
25.
thank you, 25. That's going to be virtual, which I think is great because so many more people can attend. I don't have any information on cost or anything like that, but that will be very nice. And beyond that, I don't have anything else.
Okay.
As far as grant money, we did get we did get information about what our grant could be used specifically for. Again, it could be used for appraisal staffing, another appraiser to staff. It could be used for stipends for courses. What else, Vicky?
Well, they had the criteria. I don't remember all of them, but they had the criteria there. I think for us, our focus would be our staffing needs, if you will, and trying to help prepare, for our next audit. That's what our criteria, I think that's what our focus would be on, or is going to be, and I hope. I can't tell.
Yep.
I can't tell Jason what the focus should be, but I'm just saying from past experience in terms of trying to prepare. I think that would be one of the things that would be a priority for us.
Okay.
So-
Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut, someone was saying something.
So Jerry asked if it was worth it. Was it worth it to go to this
Oh,
conference?
absolutely. I'm sorry. Yes, absolutely. I thought I had said that when I said it was my first time and it was very informative. I apologize. Yes.
All right, so the question then is there funds available to go, a part of this grant money to go in September, or is there gonna be another means has to be figured out?
Oh, there should be grant money available to go in October, actually.
Okay. Okay,
And then we just got we just received the deadlines for to apply for 2024 grant money, because the grant money from 2023 paid for us to go to this conference. And this conference was jam-packed with information. It was from early morning. Registration, yeah, 8 o'clock in the morning. Registration started at 7 a.m. The course, the conference segments started promptly at 8 a.m. A couple of 15-minute breaks throughout, and it ended, well into afternoon. What, like 4:30? I thought we were there for till 6:30 one night, but I think it
Well,
was
that was
like
the reception, but no, we were there. The classes were from 8 to 4, and we did, pretty much.
right.
They were very compact, comprehensive. And even though it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which, to the untrained eye, it may seem like, oh, yeah, they're, having all this fun. I mean, we did have fun afterwards, but the classes were very comprehensive. We didn't have to do
Yes.
homework, but there was a lot to look at and a lot to review. We did get an opportunity to network with for me, I mean, we all got a chance to network with other states just to get a sense of where people are. We don't know if we were operating in a vacuum in terms of, staffing, but there are a lot of staffing concerns across the board. So, I mean, not that was good to hear, but at least we know we're not the only one that's facing that kind of a situation. I mean, I think they were surprised when we said, hi, this is, there's 3 people, a director, a person, and, some help when we get the summer help, if we get it, and, the legal team. So that's it. So.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Norris.
Real
sorry.
quick, I think what would be great, Debbie, Vicky, Mr. Chair, everybody, is if you can use the grant money. I know they're just yearly grant money, but I see it in all the other state agencies. I've seen this for years, where they just hire a person for the whole year, and just however long that grant money can last, you can have an extra person there.
Yeah.
All the agencies.
That's what
do
we're
it.
right.
Yeah.
That's what we're hoping for.
Yeah.
And that grant money can only be used to hire an appraiser.
Yeah.
Somebody with an
That's
appraisal, right?
Absolutely.
And it can only be used for the appraisal. It can't be,
Yes. Yeah, all the state
the other
agencies
side
do it.
of real estate, right?
They take the
Mhm.
whether it's federal or this grant or everything, all the state agencies do it.
One thing
So-
I'd like to look into too, Vicky, about that stipend. I wanted to discuss that. Should I? Vicky?
I think we need clarification on that. I'm not ready to discuss that yet.
Okay.
I'm not
all
ready
right.
to discuss
Okay.
that yet.
Okay.
so that grant
Then-
money could be used to could it be used to hire, because I'm thinking the market's slowing down right now and you're getting, most of your cases are residential oriented. Could it be used to hire a senior experienced residential appraiser to work part-time as a contractor, or they have to work part-time as a state employee? Or can they work
Most likely
part-time?
they'd be a state employee for the year, even though it's a federal grant. It all depends on how, and you know, it all depends on how it's read. But usually, and I've seen it so many times instead, you know, I've known guys who worked at DC, you know, Department of Economic Development for a year. But once that grant money, but they were considered on a federal grant, you know, and they worked there for the year and money went dry, but they worked as a state employee for a year.
Wow.
So you'd have to figure out what this, I would think it'd probably be a contract, right, Deb? Right, Vic? For a year.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what.
Yeah,
the
that's right. You gotta read how it'd be written.
Structured.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I'm not sure how it's structured.
Yeah,
but
how it'd be structured through DAS,
yeah.
probably.
Sounds like a great opportunity, though.
Tell me about it.
Absolutely, because it's not just for the cases that are coming in, but they're from the conference, they said to expect an uptick from Fannie Mae because of the fair housing component. They're flagging everything. But it's, you know, auditing the courses. It's I've already audited a couple of courses and, you know, had to send out a couple of you know, requests to correct some misinformation. It's auditing the CE that comes in because that's just not seamless. There's a lot that has to be done, as you well know. It's not just we need somebody from the outside. You know, it's hard to say, oh, you need somebody to come in. You have to pay for somebody to come in to help with, you know, a handful of cases. And I say a handful compared to other boards, you know. And it isn't just that. It's definitely detailed. There's a lot of work.
Well, I'm very glad that that we are going down this road. We're finding there's going to be more twists and turns, but I'm glad you guys went. I'm glad you had a good time. I'm glad you didn't give us any details of Nashville. We leave that in Nashville, okay? That's we'll leave it at there. I'm glad you had a good time, and I'm going to take what you were discussing and segue into the old business number 2 and number 3. They're kind of intermingled for what you were just talking about, our Connecticut law and the fair housing and bias effective 1/1/26. We've discussed both, but now is there anything that we need to do, timelines, formalities, so forth? I bring that up to Debbie, I bring that up to Vicky, I bring that up to Jason, that you need from us to do, or do we need to act? Here's the time. Okay, it's on the agenda. So we talked about it. You've given us the appetizer. Now it's the main course. What do we got to do?
My thought is to, you know, get the real estate law. Well, first we need to, I would think, approve the 2026 AQB criteria. Number one, because that requires the fair housing component as mandatory. Because the 2016 that we're following now, I sent it to you. I sent you the new one a couple of months ago, but I'll resend it after the meeting, so you don't have to go searching for it.
Could you send that? Could you send that? I didn't mean to interrupt, and I apologize. I would like that to be sent, and can we have that on the agenda for next month to
Yes,
address?
absolutely.
Is that okay with members of the commission here? It gives us a month to read it, look at it, discuss it, and yay, nay, whatever we need to do. But let's make sure, therefore, let's not wait. Let's just keep trying to keep it going down the train. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll send the current one and the 26 one so that you can compare, you know, if you're wondering, well, what's new in it, that way you'll have it. I'll do that after the meeting.
Yeah, but isn't there a document that they put out that says the difference? I think I read it on their website. Isn't there something?
Right. I just emailed Brandy March this morning to have her email me all of the documents that go along with that. So as soon as she sends me that, I will forward that to the board as well. And then the second thing is we have to, once we decide that we are accepting the 26 criteria, we also have to be ready to have the Connecticut law, appraisal law, updated.
Yeah.
And there, in my view, there has to be a couple of memos that go out to the appraisers, because we just found out with this last, CE update, even though there was many times that they were notified of this change in CE due date, nobody seems to pay attention to notifications from us until it's like a month to what they think is the CE, deadline. That's when they were discovering. I had so many emails and calls from people that said, I just took the appraisal law. It was my last course. Which I would think you would take the appraisal law course first, because that tells you of all the, changes, but whatever. Anyway, so they got hung up because they didn't take the appraisal law until after the deadline. They had everything else prior to, but that I would say notifications need to be sent out, and also it needs to be posted on our website that there is a new mandatory course, and explaining about that.
Debbie, you bring up a very good point on notification. I will say that some states have made, as part of this, that's why they make you take the USPAP within 6 months of when it comes due. And therefore, you don't take USPAP at the end of the cycle, which you could with only 2 weeks left, and then a new USPAP is coming out every 2 years. So that has been some states, how they've addressed it, but your point, I'm sorry to interrupt, other folks, the commission, any thoughts on what Debbie just said here?
Well, I think we discussed last month a little bit about the fair housing new thing. We're kind of not going to do anything that ourselves. We're going to let the public come up with that portion of the course.
Yeah.
So, and I just taught to the Connecticut Bar Association. I just gave a couple hour seminar on my topic was USPAP, state statute regulations regarding our real estate appraisal license. And I used some of the slides. I talked to Vicky about this, and it was interesting, the feedback from the lawyers on some of this stuff, and many of them didn't know that we actually have, statutes and regulations on our licensing and what the heck USPAP was. So I'm willing to help I think rewrite that course, because I've taught it a couple of times. And I think we can start doing that, maybe like July, just and maybe break it up a little bit, and each of us kind of pick a section of it or whatever, just to kind of work on. And as opposed to last time, we did a great job last time, but I think there's some repetitive stuff in there. And I think we can be a little more focused on a few things, and then reconvene by September so that we can kind of have it done, so we can roll it out in time, and then give the state time to go through it and do all the checks and necessaries, et cetera.
And also too, I'd like to comment that based on the information that we were able to get from this conference, I think that it may require increasing the course to 1 hour, to 4 hours instead of 3, because there are some things that we found out we thought would be very helpful regarding USPAP, and then also the new component of the valuation bias and fair housing. I don't think that there's anything in the course right now that could be deleted sufficiently to allow time to keep it in that same time frame of 3 hours with the valuation bias and fair housing component. But you guys are the experts in that, so.
Well, I will say that I think that we had this 3 hour, 4 hour debate before, if I remember correctly. And I don't think we're going to 4 hours again.
The market will not accept it.
The market doesn't want 4 hours.
Yeah.
But the last time we did it, we had some feedback from a couple of people from the Appraisal Institute that taught it, but we really didn't have any feedback from any of the other schools that were, offering it. So, I'm wondering if we try to shoot to have this thing done. Oh, and I'm the worst guy with deadlines. Here we go. But by September, we give some of those schools some time to feedback. But I guess in saying that, is it possible, Vicky, that if we even approve something, say we have something and we're done as of December, and then we send it out, we can still make changes to that in January, February, March, right?
And yeah, we can make changes, but again, I meet with Paul, my supervisor. Again, I'm not certain
Yeah.
if this is going out or not, going out to bid or not. We're saying, yes, we can do this and we can do that, but I was told that that may not be, the best use of our resources, meaning the department's resources. So I'm not sure where we are on this.
Yeah,
So we need to find that out first.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yes,
there's a lot of
absolutely.
moving parts here.
Absolutely.
Debbie, going back to your point, and I don't want to have this come across that it was dismissed, but we're going to be talking, we're going to have 7 hours of this fair bias and law. We add a section or maybe one slide, that we're going to have it. I know where you're coming from, but boy, you don't want to spend an hour on it there when you're going to have to sit through it 7 hours,
Mhm.
and trying to keep. But anyway, that's a food for thoughts. Other thoughts? I mean, this is why we're doing this. This is why we're talking about it here.
I think Jackie's hand is raised. I think I
Oh,
see Jackie's hands raised.
yeah, I was, Vicky, I was trying to avoid Miss Bouchane, but go ahead, Jackie. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Commissioner Rasmussen. So just to piggyback on that, when do you anticipate the schools will have the new course? And also by a comment that Vicky just said, is the state not going to be putting together a new law course? Is that potentially going to be different this cycle?
I should have clarification. Today is Wednesday. I will have clarification hopefully by the end of the week as to what the direction we're going. I don't know. I haven't been told.
More to come next commission meeting then.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Jackie, thank you for, I was only being serious, but good. Any other discussions on and I'm melding number 2 and number 3 together here because they're kind of intertwined. They really are, with the fair housing and so forth. Jackie, you're on here. I think Scott is on here as well. Do we have any idea when the Appraisal Institute, are they coming out with a class? Are they going to have something with this valuation bias and fair housing? And I'm only using you folks as an example. I'm sure McKissick will be having something in these other schools.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Rasmussen. Excuse me. The answer to that question is yes. The other answer to that question is I'm not sure when. But of course, we have the 5-hour version of our fair housing course right now that's available in the marketplace. Clearly, that course is having to be updated, first of all, to make it 7 hours for the qualifying side, and also to change the content so that it complies with the AQB required content. All of that is taking place right now. And then hopefully in the near future, we'll be submitting that course to the AQB for their approval, and then henceforth making it available. But certainly we'll have something available by mid 2025, I would say, at the latest, so that folks can comply with the January 1, 2026 deadline.
Great.
Scott, I'd just like to clarify that it is 7 hours the first time they take it for both qualifying and CE.
Correct, yes. Yeah.
Right, and a 1 hour test with qualifying and 1 hour test available for the CE if they think they're going to.
That's correct, yes.
Right, okay.
Jackie, you have your hand up for another question?
Yep, just to clarify that this, and we started this conversation prior to the commission call, and we kind of said that we would make sure that it was reflective in the minutes, that this is going to be a requirement for Connecticut appraisers to renew their license in 2026. I know that at the Yukon instructors clinic that I attended on Friday, there was some discussion and it wasn't clear as to when that effective date was going to be required for real estate appraiser. So I just want to confirm that folks will need that in 2026 to renew.
It certainly is my understanding that you do. I mean, and anyone knows different, please tell me. I've taken it from 3 other states, so there is, what's going on. Am I in error? I thought it was everything. That was the law of the land began January 1 of 26.
Well, I would think that it would
Yeah.
follow the same premise as the new use PAP, which became available January 1st of this year, and anybody taking use PAP had to have that, that particular course prior to January 31st. So seeing as this is following the same timeline, then I would venture to say that yes, it does need to be completed by the January 31st, 2026 deadline.
Great. Scott, I'm going to ask you another question, and this is just for more information for my colleagues here on the commission. As you know, in Illinois, you have to take a class, and if you have an office in Illinois, in Chicago, you have to sit through an additional class on this topic. Now that we've gone, and you do this on national, so you got Minnesota's law and you got New York's law. Everyone's got different versions of this. From the Appraisal Institute side of the fence, are you hearing across the land that they're going to make a uniform so we don't have all these other, and I'll use the word fiefdoms, not only do you go to Illinois and take one, but then if you have an office in Chicago, you got to take another class for it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel your pain on the 2-hour class that's required by the city of Chicago, because the Appraisal Institute being a Chicago corporation, I had to take it as well. So yeah, I feel your pain on that. But all of the state laws that are in place right now that require appraisers to take fair housing, valuation bias topics, courses in those topics, all of those will be more or less overridden by the AQB requirement. So for instance, California has a requirement for 2 hours of elimination of bias and 1 hour of cultural competency. And all of those topics are part of the AQB criteria and the AQB outline. So the 7-hour course that's required by the AQB will also satisfy the California requirement. Now, in New York, for example, I was up in Albany last week. They have an interesting predicament. Excuse me, because their course is 7 hours that they require, but the outline that is in New York regulation is entirely different from the AQB required content. So the folks in New York are going to have to change their regulations and the requirements for their fair housing course so that they match the AQB required content. Now, they may choose to add in additional New York specific information, as I understand many states are looking to do. But the bottom line is that the states that currently have the requirement are going to have to change it so that it complies with the AQB requirement. And those states like Connecticut that don't yet have any requirements will have to impose what's required by the AQB. And that's for any license that is renewed after January 1 of 2026. You have to show that you've had the various courses within the previous 2 years.
Thank you very much. And if there's ever a time to be the caboose on this, this is one I think we get the benefit, because you had all the other states that jumped on it and came up with all these. I've been through the California, I've been through the Minnesota, I've been through the Illinois level, the New York level. It just never ends. But now at least we'll have one, and it's clean. And then we could always, when we look at it here, my understanding is if we needed to put a plate or two that specifically for if there's a Connecticut law or laws that, we covered on the topic. I'm sorry to talk so much, folks. Other members of the commission, any questions or thoughts? Or staff or public? Okay, I think we've taken care of number 2 and number 3 under the old business. We do everything a little backwards here today. We'll get to number 1 under old business. Discussion, qualifications and approval process for course instructors. This was tabled from April. John, I think this was, you had to focus on this if I remember correctly here.
I think
You're
that
on.
I'm
Yeah,
off,
go ahead.
I'm off mute. So this was about that each class that's taught a seminar or anything. Am I correct about this? Because I'm starting to draw some
Yeah, I
blanks
think
here.
so. Yeah.
About having an appraiser there to answer appraisal questions if it's somebody who's not doesn't have any appraisal experience. On the farmers, all the farmer classes, they all had appraisers affiliated with the instructors. So there was no issues there. But I think it's something that, because we had the one, I forgot what the educational facility out of New Hampshire or whatever they are, had submitted a couple seminars in the past couple years that didn't have, they were being taught, they looked like great classes, but there was nobody there that had appraisal experience to answer specific appraisal questions. So we requested that they actually assign somebody, which they did. And that's the only thing is I think that in going forward, that I think we should be consistent, that there should be somebody affiliated with every class or that's submitted who is there to answer questions.
John, are you talking, you use the word class. Are you also, when you say that, including seminars as well
Yes.
as your thought process? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, because most of the class, for instance, the report writing class that was just submitted from the rural farmer, they had somebody that was going to be there that was an appraiser, and I know in our past, I remember when I took report writing through the Appraisal Institute, we had a gentleman who was a phenomenal English major. But he wasn't an appraiser. And I can specifically remember during that class, there were appraisal questions came up and things were bounced around. Now he was just focusing on grammar and stuff like that. But I think it'd be prudent that if we had, that there'd be somebody that who can, that's when the class is submitted for approval, that somebody's qualifications be submitted who's going to be there to answer specific appraisal questions.
Okay, let me ask you this, John. I hear where you're coming from, and it's well founded. If we had like a Dr. Deek in the past who gives the Connecticut economic forecast, that 2 or 3 hour presentation. I'm just using that for an example. We wouldn't approve that because he's not an
No,
appraiser.
because that's a good example. So in that particular case, when the whoever's submitting it, for something like that, would submit that, but they also would submit the qualifications of one appraiser who would be there to, if there was something that came up that was a value issue, whatever, that just could answer it or make a decision or whatever. And you and I are familiar with that class, so we understand. Yeah. But we've had other classes. For instance, in line with that, though, just before COVID, right when COVID was shutting everything down that week, we had a class up at UConn, and there was a professor that came in, and he was really not appraisal oriented. And I remember sitting there, and there was some stuff that was informative, but it wasn't too informative. And I know there was some questions that came up, but there was enough appraisers there that we all, it was resolved, and that's fine. But I'm concerned not so much about that, but we got to be consistent, are the classes where they were teaching construction. Debbie, I can't remember what, there was 2 of those classes that came from, I think it was e-learning, right? And one was on constructions, but let's say one is on statistics. All right, we just had a statistics one. Okay, but I think it could be taught by somebody statistics, but there should be an appraiser there to, just to oversee it, just to answer questions, just to keep some things so people aren't being misled. Especially if it, who knows, if a seminar comes up and it's all new appraisers, I think there should be a senior appraiser there to, to give some, guidance if it's necessary.
I see a question. Jackie, you've raised your hand.
John, you just made the statement as senior appraiser. Who would be the judge of what a senior appraiser is? I guess I'm just looking as a school, what
You.
our
So
criteria
you
is
would
and
just
who,
submit the qualifications. So it could be the president of the chapter for that particular time period. Just, because they're going to be there. Just submit their qualifications, and then we know there's one person there. Now I'm going to say there's going to be an issue
what
with the
if, well,
appraisal institute.
what if that's, right now we have a residential chapter president. So what if the question
Doesn't
is on
matter.
commercial, then he's not qualified potentially to answer that. I guess I'm just trying to make sure as a school, I understand what the criteria is and what that responsibility or role of that person's name that I'm submitting or potentially submitting will put
Yeah,
them
see,
liable for.
I don't think it's an issue whether they're a residential or commercial, because a good residential appraiser is going to be able to sort it out and deal with it. Just saying that say an issue broke out, then that appraiser can just, say, okay, we got to find that out or whatever. As long as there's somebody there. The issue isn't so much with, you know, with the, some of these appraisal class, et cetera. It's with some of these schools that we've had already. For the first time in 10 years, I've seen we have 2 classes come through that didn't have an instructor that was appraisal oriented, and they were classes that would probably have newer appraisers in them. So I think this is why I'm bringing up. It should be somebody there affiliated with that class who can offer guidance or find out a question, or just, just step in and if necessary or whatever. So it could be anybody. They just have to submit their qualifications that we can see that they have some appraisal experience. So there's somebody there to answer appraisal questions if they come up. So these
Yeah, but now,
people,
can I ask a quick question? John, you there?
yeah,
What if you see on some of these courses, a drone course? Do we need an appraiser at a drone class?
yeah, I think there should be an appraiser at a drone class, because, um, there's certain things, especially the drone class is we use a drone now, and we just got one. We've been using it now for a couple of months. And, there's, I think it's important. I think there should be an appraiser. Just think, let's just say the guy who runs the drone, he has no idea how to write an appraisal report, and somebody's asking specific questions of how do I, address this drone in, to comply with standard 2, and writing it up in the report, that person's going to have no clue. Whereas the appraiser who's there can step in and, say, hey, I'll get back to you at least, or something. But there's just somebody there to provide that guidance.
John, in that particular case, would that not be covered when they take, the uniform standards update? On that, how it hit it, how it meets the criteria. And the
Yeah,
reason I bring that up,
it
go
would
ahead.
be, but it would be, but I just don't, I mean, remember first, the first commission meeting I ever went to, Chris Italia was reading off the classes, and we were there, Jared, there was one that was water everywhere, and it was about water. It was leaching in the basements and dealing with water issues and stuff like that. Um, there were concerns because it really wasn't appraisal oriented, but I mean, it could be a seminar like that. We have a need to learn a lot of stuff. All right. And I think with everything online now, I even think it's more important that we have more seminars and stuff like that to educate our appraisers. I really do. So I just think it's prudent that we have one person. We don't have to decide this today. We can think about it a little bit more, but I just think that with every class or seminar submitted, the qualifications of one appraiser should be submitted, who is going to be responsible for answering appraisal oriented questions should they come up.
John, I understand your premise, and I'm not arguing against it. And I think it's well founded. My only question or concern, and I may be all wet, and no pun intended here, when I say this, is that will this preclude some offerings because they don't have an appraiser part of it and so forth? I like yesterday, I just happened to take the class, the new one, the appraisals came out with, with log chain and, artificial intelligence and so forth, done by an appraiser, geared toward what have you. And I was glad to take it because we're into new stuff. You bring up water everywhere. There are things that we need to go for. Seem to be my only holdup, that maybe because we're seasoned, that's being polite, with years of doing this, that we're looking for new classes. We don't want to take the same thing over and over and over again. And if everyone thinks that this would not preclude us from, or hold up offerings, new stuff coming forth, fine. But I want to make sure that doesn't hold up the new stuff coming. So to keep learning, like you just said, that's I'm trying to get my head around it. Let me be candid.
Well, anybody who's submitting for a course approval is pretty much has to be an approved school anyway, correct? Or if it's a seminar that's off, whatever, we have the seminars that the people who submit for experience credits for the New York real estate seminar and stuff like that. But if you go through that, there's somebody there, answering questions, and the people who are taking them, we can do those one-offs. Those are fine, because we're also looking at the person taking it too. So I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue is when they're approving to get a course pre-approved, that it should, and we could actually say pre-approved, that it actually include a seminar. I remember there's going to be these one-offs which aren't going to be issues. I remember there was an appraiser a few years ago who was teaching appraisal to students down at Yale, and it was just a seminar where the professor brought him in, and it was a 2-hour thing type of thing. Now something like that, he's the appraiser, so he can answer the question. That's not an issue. You see what I'm saying? So, but in other classes like the two that we just recently had, I think it's important.
Questions by members of the commission or public or staff? John, is this something you said you may want to think about and then put it on for next month and bring
Well,
it
I
to a
think the only
vote?
thing I want
Or
to do
what do you
is
think the next step?
I think we should just ask Vicky just to check to make sure there's no issues with us making this. And then the question is, what do we have to do? Debbie can find out what do we have to do to implement it. If it's just something we have to vote on for the commission, and then Debbie's fine, or is it something that has to have a change somewhere internally or something like that, to see if there's anything else we have to make as part of that motion before we make it.
So we should put it on, while they're doing that for next month, put it on next month's agenda.
Yeah, not
Do
that
you
I want to
agree?
give them any extra work, but
Yeah, okay. Oh, if the resources allow them to get to it, so to speak. I was listening to Debbie before. Does that work for you, John?
yeah, it works for me, fine, yeah.
Okay. Good enough. Okay. Anything on this topic? Anything else, folks?
Anybody else got any
Okay.
feedback on this, Debbie or Vicky, or am I out of line here or what?
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense to have an appraiser at least available, because it's just like a course. If they don't have a full understanding of the appraisal side, then how are they expected to convey that information accurately to the students? Ever since you brought that up a few months ago, I have been checking to make sure that, there was an appraiser available. In fact, McKissick's had sent me a roster. I think there were like 20 appraisers and resumes that they had added. And I had to go into each one of the courses and add this roster and resume. And I thought to myself, oh, this is punishment. This is definitely punishment for asking that. But we got it done. No, it just totally makes sense. And I understand that maybe an appraiser may not be available to teach a certain course on some of the topics that may be gray in the appraiser related area. But just to have an appraiser on board that has a thorough understanding of USPAP, I think is absolutely necessary. That's my thought.
Okay. Any other comments, thoughts?
My thought may be a little different, but I just say, I guess the only question that I ask, and it's not even an appraisal related question per se, is I just think you have to ask what type of hardship does this requirement, impose on the schools, and how will this impact the courses if, there's not an appraiser, I'll say, on staff or readily available. I mean, somebody has to pay for this directly or indirectly. And I think that's one of the things that needs to be considered in whatever realm it needs to be considered. But I don't have a opinion one way or the other. I just say look at it from all perspectives.
Okay. Well, it's food for thought for us. And we're going to have it next month, and at least on the agenda. And I know, John, there were a couple of questions that need to be ironed out that have been put forth here. So,
And Vicky's comment is very is real. I really think that that's something that I think we all need to debate on. Are we adding a financial burden to the schools too, and is that financial burden outweigh this so anyway.
positive discussion, positive points to look at all angles of it here, and which we will pick up for next month. Folks, we have had I won't say, well, I guess it was a longstanding thing that, that we look at our agenda and we look at it a week before and so forth. And then if there are unique circumstances that we add something that may have come up, what we call an urgent matter or unique situation. And Debbie forwarded to us last evening something that may come into what we would call a unique situation. So the matter that was emailed to us last evening, have all members of the commission seen this? Your email came in around 5:30ish, thereabouts of last evening. If you've seen it, I need and if we need to have a motion put the matter on the agenda.
Can you clarify, are we talking about the Matthew Wiggins?
I'm pulling it up as well, John. Okay, so I'm moving over to the emails, and that was at, what I say, 5 something last night, right? There you are, Debbie. Oh, no, 4:49. That is, and we will call it the Matthew Wiggin matter, Wiggin. Can I get a motion to put the Matthew Wiggin matter on the agenda? Second call for a motion to put it on the agenda.
I make a motion to put it on the agenda.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
And we have a second. Okay, any discussion on putting it on the agenda? Hearing none, ayes? I need ayes,
Aye.
Aye.
nays, abstentions. Okay, it passes. So we add the Matthew Wiggin matter to the agenda. There were three, a few moments were put forth here. And if my understanding here is, and I know we're dealing with a sensitive information situation, and this is, Mr. Wiggin is requesting a waiver of CE for not completing his requested discipline for required CE by January 31st, 2024. He has completed all 28 hours, including the 2 mandatories, which I would mean the USAP and Connecticut law, during the month of February 2024. So he would only be receiving a letter of caution for his file. So as we have this here for the reasons put forth, again, we are dealing with a sensitive issue here, under a medical waiver, so to speak. Are there any issues, or is there a motion someone wants to make to waive this for Matthew, and I'm going to ask a question to Vicky, if I may, please. If we do this, and with what you have just learned in Nashville and our history with our audit, does this present an issue or a potential problem?
Well, I think everything presents an issue for a potential problem, but because it's all subject to interpretation. But I
Yeah.
think, we are, I'll say, consistently applying the rules in prior situations in which there was a request. As long as we apply it appropriately and across the board, I don't think there's going to be a problem.
Okay, if we do, let me just give a little history to members of the commission. If we approve it, this will be the third time we have done it in my 28 years here for this type of similar situation.
I'm sorry, can
And
you say it again? I'm sorry.
it's a third time, if we approve it, it's been the third time that we have done that in my years on the commission under this medical situation. And on the previous two, when the auditors came through, it was raised and nothing was ever said. We explained it, when the matter came up. One was for Mr. Italia and one was for, boy, it was a long time ago. He's out of Trumbull. Anyway, to make a long story short, we have had precedent in this for something similar, and I'm using it under the medical guise.
Right,
So,
and I understand, yeah.
And so we have been consistent.
Yeah.
And the questions have come up when we audited, and we've never been written up on it. You asked a question, we gave the answer, and everyone moved on. So I just wanted to give that is being under the word, Vicky, as you like to say, being consistent.
Yeah,
So,
no, I think that shows that it has been done in the past. It was done without any issues, so it could be done again.
right. Okay. Any questions by members of the commission on this matter or staff?
Well,
Hearing none.
I,
Yes, go
I,
ahead,
I
Debbie.
would just like to say that, seeing as though he completed all of his CE in the month of February, which was after the due date, he would really fall into that general decision of just the LOC, which is not reportable discipline. So I think what perhaps he is asking for too is just a waiver of the LOC in his file, because all of his certificates were uploaded. I didn't expect to see that they were uploaded, but when I checked the system, they were all in there. So I just wanted to make that point.
Mhm. It's a sensitive matter, but we have been through it 2 other times before, and we handled it with equal sensitivity on the 2 previous ones, and we've been audited on it on 2 previous times, and we have passed with flying colors of how we did waive on both. And when if a motion is made and we waive totally and not even with an LOC put forth here, I am confident when we get re-audited, it will come up. And I am confident that given we've done this twice before, and like I said, my 28 years, we're not using a lot, it's one every, 9 years or something like that. We do have that provision. And I will just say this was used as an example in 2020 because we'd already had the first situation when we were down in DC and getting the laws and all that thing going on when we were fighting the clock. That's why there was that difference between state right and federal rights, and we still have that, and we've kept that in the law for this type of situation that has now been exercised 3 times, if it's exercised 3 times in 28 years. So I'm just giving history here. So to avoid we're not going down a road we haven't been down before. We're not down this path that often, but we've passed mustard on both things. So Anyway, I've spoken much more than I thought I would. I know we're trying to be very careful given the sensitivity of the medical banner. So is there any motion or any other discussion, excuse me, or is there a motion that wants to be made?
I don't have any problem with this because of the letter from the APRN, the
Okay,
nurse practitioner, I mean,
yeah,
who I believe she is an APRN, and yeah, APRN. Um, so I feel comfortable with making a motion that we, unless somebody else says otherwise, make a motion that we do not issue a letter of caution to Mr. Wiggins due to his situation.
do you just want, John, to make it you're waiving it? Or you just, how do you want to make your motion? You tell me.
Waive it. Waive
We're
it.
waiving, in essence, the letter of caution.
Well, we're waiving the letter of caution in this specific and because of the specific circumstances of Mr. Wiggins.
Okay. We have a motion on the table. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, I think Maria beat you, Jen, by just a fraction. It was like the Kentucky Derby, just by a nose, okay? We did that. Okay. Discussion. Is there anything anyone want to add or? It's
Just-
always go ahead.
Just to be clear, there's no discipline for the late CE because he falls under the same decision that the others did a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I know, I
Over
just
the
wanted
years,
that
yeah.
on the record.
No, it's important. We're dealing with a very, very sensitive issue. And there are true hardships. And I think we have, in our quest of efficiency, we're exhibiting the degree of humanity that, has to be exercised. And we have not abused that. And I know that some may have been here when it came, and I'm not going to say anything more because I may be reaching things. Okay. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call it to vote. Ayes,
Aye.
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 nays, abstentions. That is, we've taken care of that matter. Are there any other things that need to come before us today?
Just got one quick one, Jerry. I
Yep.
think it's been resolved, but I just want to clarify it. I'm a little confused. It's my understanding that our website still says that Pyrea was not passed. Am I opening a can of worms here? And that it's in the process of coming off? Is that true? Deb?
I'd like to defer to Vicky, if you would.
Well, the only thing I can say is the website reflects what is an accurate statement. I mean, it's in the process. Our website will not be changed until such time as it has been finalized.
And Vicky, that is with reg review. Am I correct on that? Or I know the department's done everything they can. Just bring me current so I'm not misspeaking. Isn't there something with the
The
legislature? Go ahead.
regs are in my director's hands. I'll put it that way. Where it is, I
Okay.
don't, yeah.
Okay, so
It has been
it is,
submitted. When I had put on the record that it was submitted at the time that I said it was submitted.
okay,
It has been submitted. Where it is in the process, like I said, today is the last day of the session. I can provide you with a better explanation next month. I'll know. I don't know today as we speak because nobody's available to answer that question. Everybody's over at the LOB.
yeah, and they have till 5 today, correct? Isn't that?
Well,
or-
but that's just the legislative session. I
Yes.
think I had indicated, because I had this conversation with people at the conference in which I had indicated the Department of Consumer Protection, State of Connecticut, we just have a new or recent legislative person. Right now, the priority is to get through this legislative session. The reg issue can and will be addressed. I can bring you up to date better at the next meeting.
Okay, but once that is signed off, then I don't want to
Then
say
I
we're
think
done. Then
no, I think we'll have a better sense of how it is we want the website, what we want this website to convey. And Jason he's a IT person, or he's involved with that. He can say something if he wants to say something to that, but I'm just saying from my perspective, as I understand it, but he can add on to that or take away from that if he chooses to.
Jason, anything you'd like to add, or?
I don't have any content knowledge there, no.
Okay. All right. So from the layman's point of view, let me just ask this. I'm Anna Rasmussen. God, she gets mad at me already, just me bringing her name up. Okay. And Dad says, I want you to become an appraiser and I want you to go into the PIREA program, and you live in Fairfield, Connecticut. At this point in time, for her to do that and to be approved, she's waiting for wherever it is, Vicky, you handed it over to these folks, where it is in that process. Am I correct in that understanding?
That's correct. As I think we had discussed when we had discussed it, I'm not going to say which meeting it was because I don't recall, but my understanding from the commission is that had anybody taken the PIREA course, because the commission has
Right.
already given this approval on it, that
Yes,
we would
we
go
have.
back and recapture with the understanding that the commission had the option, if you will, for lack of a better word right now, to ask that there be a number of, I'll say, appraisals done that are in Connecticut to show that they have the geocompetency for this area. But other than that, that because the person had taken it, that if it was taken or completed prior to the approval, that we would go back and capture that and allow them to get credit for that.
And
I
so
think
for that Anna Rasmussen, for her to go onto the webpage, so that to be taken off, we need for your supervisor or who you report to or whomever, where it's sitting right now, we need for that to be addressed at that point.
I need
Is
her
that
to tell me or to say that it's okay for that to come off, but in
fair
terms of
enough?
what we understand the
Okay.
process to be, I think we're all set. And again, I did have this conversation, and what had happened was we realized that the Connecticut people who may have taken the course were not ready or not at that point anyway. So yeah.
Okay.
And the license or registration that was being sought, we don't even offer. So I think it was resolved, but just to make sure that the record is clear, as I understand it, the commission has given their approval. It
Yes.
has gone forward. There has, to my knowledge, has been no changes as to what was suggested, and it's just a matter of time of having it. If anybody has completed it, which we don't have any candidates now, as I understand, but if somebody does complete it before the regs go, we are going to go back and recapture that person or persons, add them to, with the understanding that they may have to take or may have to complete some Connecticut-based appraisals just to show their competency, jurisdictional competency or geo competency in this area. And I think that's even a part of the reg. So I think we're all set. Other than that,
Okay.
I don't know if there's anything else I can add. I hope that answers all questions at this point.
John, did that address your question or thought?
It answers my question. I just want to make sure anybody from the public has any questions.
Yeah, that's fine.
Open to the public?
Sure. Commissioners, this is Scott DiBiasio, and I was the one that brought, from the Appraisal Institute, and I was the one that brought this question up. And I think that it's been answered. But I just want to confirm one last time that because we do have folks from Connecticut, at least one and perhaps more, that are enrolled in PIREA right now. Now they are taking the licensed residential module. And as Vicky correctly indicated, Connecticut does not have the LR credential. So they're going to have to proceed directly into certified residential PIREA before they can present anything to the department and the commission. So there's going to be a fair amount of time for them to complete that. But I just want to be sure that if that person or people were to complete the CR PIREA prior to the time that the regulations go into effect, they will still be able to present their completion of PIREA to satisfy the experience requirements and will be authorized to sit for the exam. Now, anybody that comes in obviously, after the time that the regulations are in effect, would have to comply with whatever's in the regs. But right now, the commission indicated back in October of 2024 that Perea was accepted. So I disagree with the language that's on the website, but be that as it may. And the language on the website has created some consternation for folks from Connecticut that are interested in potentially participating in Perea. And the one person that I know of that's in the program now is a little bit concerned with it as well. But Perea is accepted in Connecticut. People that are enrolled in the program will get credit for that completion at the appropriate time based upon what was put in or what is not in place right now. And then moving forward, anybody new into the program would have to comply with whatever the regulations are in place at the time. Is that correct? And I'm asking the commission.
That is my understanding.
Okay.
Okay.
So if miraculously this person completes the CR module, within the next within the next 3 weeks, not going to happen, obviously, it's going to be 6 or 8 months. But if they were to complete CR Perea, go to the department, go to the commission and say, here's my experience, I want to be authorized to sit for the exam, they would be allowed to do so.
Unless other members of the commission think otherwise, that was my understanding when we passed that back in September or October, or whenever it was last year.
Okay, then that's fine. Then I'm not sure why the statement on the website that Perea is not adopted, but be that as it may.
Scott, there are hurdles that they
I
can't
understand.
take it off until certain things get addressed.
I understand. Thank you for that clarification. And I don't know if you're in public comment right now or not, but I did have one other quick issue that I wanted to bring up.
I'll come right back to you here, just a moment here. Is there any other comments on this topic that John brought up and we've discussed?
I guess, oh God, I hope I don't beat a dead horse here, but Vicky, I guess my question is, the regulations are in your hands. When the regulation comes back, don't we have to decide at some point if we are going to require we already agreed that we're going to accept Perea. So that's not the issue. The issue is, are we going to require, 1 or 2 appraisals be done, or at least one be done, so they can show some sort of geocompetency? We still have to kind of make that decision.
No, that was in there.
That's in there. So we don't
Yes.
have to.
That's
No,
right.
we don't have to make that decision because not you per se. As a matter of fact, I think it was you who had raised that issue. And then we included that language that says that the commission has the, I'll say, discretion or the ability to ask for, additional, I think they said 3.
All right, so the regulations, we did say 3. So when's the regulations going to be, so they'll be done over the next couple of months, probably. Usually they don't, right?
Correct.
So
I
we'll
would say that.
know by September-ish or so. Okay.
I hope so.
All right.
I think we'll know before that person finishes in 8 months. That's my guess, my bet.
Okay. So maybe we just put it up on the agenda for September, just so in case we don't hear it and we all forget about it, that it doesn't fall through and then this poor person shows up.
Oh, you can put on the agenda fund. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's great. Great idea.
Okay. Any other comments on
Deb's
this
hand is
topic?
raised. I see Deb's hand is raised. I don't know if it's about this or something else, but I saw her hand.
Deb, on
Yes.
this matter?
It's on this matter.
Yes.
Scott, I have a question for you, because you had said, that your students that were enrolled from Connecticut were on the licensing path. And I just wanted to make sure, as you are aware now, that we don't have a license category. So does your website reflect that we only have the certified residential and the certified general? Or actually, we don't, Perea is not certified general, I strike that. Just the certified residential path? Because did they sign on?
No. They are aware that the only residential credential available in Connecticut is certified, but Perea is a sequential program, so they have to take licensed Perea before they can move into certified residential Perea, and they have to complete both to satisfy the certified residential experience requirement. So while they are in the licensed Perea program, they are aware that that's not really going to get them anything in Connecticut. And that in order to become certified residential, they have to complete the second part of that, which is the certified residential PREA module.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, there's 7 or 8 states around the country that don't have LR. And we've made the participants in each of those states aware that just completing licensed residential doesn't really get them anything.
To add a little humor and a little history on a wrap on this, one of the contentions were when we were on that slippery slope in 2020, the feds made us give up that category of a licensed residential component. And there were 5 folks in the state legislature, members of the assembly, who held that license. And that is where it became that contentious situation. That's why we put the sunset in. If we had not done that, we would have all been decertified. So I kind of laugh now that here it's come back, dictated out of, that license category where we were made to give it up by the feds 24 years ago. So, I do find a little bit of humor on it here. Maybe I'm the only one who does see the humor, but I know it got to be some very heated discussions, especially by those members of the assembly who had that license, who didn't want to give that up. So anyway, that being the case, Scott, you had another matter to bring up or under
Yes.
public comment.
Yes, thank you very much, Commissioner Rasmussen, members of the commission. Just wanted to bring to the board's attention a piece of legislation that was introduced during this legislative session that kind of flew under the radar screen. And I'm actually embarrassed to say that somehow it missed coming across my desk because we have pretty good tracking systems, but it was House Bill 5254. And it would have more or less eviscerated the appraiser licensing, or excuse me, the appraiser certification program in Connecticut. And it would have allowed anybody, particularly licensed real estate brokers and real estate salespeople. And I'm going to read here. The licensing law would not apply to any real estate broker or real estate salesperson who is not a certified appraiser or licensed provisional appraiser pursuant to sections 20-500 to 20-528, inclusive of the general statutes, and those people may estimate the value of real estate for a fee or other valuable consideration, provided such broker or salesperson does not make any representation of being an appraiser. And then it goes on to say that they can also provide broker price opinions as well as comparative market analyses. That is a pretty significant change and would more or less make Connecticut a voluntary licensing state, particularly as it relates to brokers and salespeople. And that bill actually got a hearing in the legislature back in February. The bankers, realtors, credit unions testified in favor of it. Fortunately, it didn't see the light of day and died in committee, but it's likely that we're going to see that again next year. And to me, that's a pretty significant change. And I know the Connecticut chapter of the Appraisal Institute many years ago fought this battle. And it seems like we're going to have to fight it again. So I hadn't heard any discussion amongst the commission about this. Perhaps at the face-to-face meetings, you did have some discussion, I'm not sure. But when I saw this, and it was brought to my attention by somebody else, when I saw this, I was like, wow, I'm not sure how I missed that, because that would have been a pretty significant event, and we likely would have testified in opposition to it. So I just wanted to bring make the commission aware of that, and so you can keep an eye on it. And if it does reappear next year or in subsequent years, you may be asked to weigh in on that, and we'll certainly keep an eye out for it as well. But that would have been a pretty major change as far as I'm concerned. And one that a commission should be aware of. So thank you.
Thank you. Any thoughts or any comments by anyone would like to say to Scott's statement or concern? I know that it did die, and it's we have a number of battle-hardened folks who have, one form, shape, or another, done this battle in one position or another, from members of the Appraisal Institute or what have you. anything? Thank you, Scott. Your points were on point. I'll leave it at that. Okay.
Well, the last time this came up, I was president of the Connecticut chapter, and we fought it. There was 3 years. It was essentially 3 years. I was not aware about this. I know Vicky had sent me something about some regulations that I went through, and I didn't see anything in the regulations unless I missed it. But it was, I guess in the future, is it our responsibility to keep looking at this stuff, to see this stuff as a commission? But I know in the past, the commission, in the last round, the commission actually went before so the first time it came up, insurance and real estate, twice, and then one time it died, it didn't make it out. Both times it didn't make it out. One time it was brought up in banking. It went down to the floor and they kicked it back up to insurance and real estate, where it died because there wasn't enough time. But I would suspect that I'm amazed it didn't come out of banking, but I'm sure it's going to come up again, as Scott said, because we're into a slow economy now, and we know these things are being done around the state, or we hear these things are being done around the state. But I will say, when I was at the Connecticut Bar Association meeting, there was also I didn't catch her name. I do have it. I don't recall it. Who was also says she was on the real estate commission for the brokers, who after I got done, stood up and actually pointed out our law that only a broker can only do a BPO in pursuit of a listing. And she sounded like she was in support of that, to continue that too. So I think we have a little more support if this comes up again.
It's like every 3-4 years it comes up. I hate to, it's like a presidential election cycle, and
Been over 10 years, so that's a good thing.
yeah,
It's been over 10 years.
or it will come up, John, it dies. You know what I mean? It gets, put away. But anyway, enough of that, of me talking. Great. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Any other things for new business to come before us? Okay. I want to thank everyone. I'm glad that our folks had a good time and learned a lot down in Nashville. And I appreciate the sensitivity of how we handled something, at the end here. We walked a very fine line with all the different rules and laws we have to follow. And I thank everyone for all your contributions. Have a great May. And next thing you know, behave yourself on Memorial Day weekend, but summer, when we meet, we'll be into summer. So although out in California, they got more snow 3 days ago than the entire winter, and they've never had it this late. But anyway, be that as may. Thank you, everyone. If I can get a motion to bring this to an end. A motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Jen is quick there. Jen makes the motion. A second. Maria, can we get you to second it there?
Absolutely, I second.
Thank you. Maria seconds. Ayes?
Aye.
Nays? Abstentions? Thank you for everybody. Thank you for participating. Thank you to the staff as always. And yes, we'll look forward to those when you get a chance. Debbie, you had
Yes,
mentioned, just trying to play catch up. We get it.
Absolutely. And we'll
Thank
see
you,
you
folks.
in person next month.
Oh, yes, in June. Very, very good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.